We have officially hit UFC 299 fight week. We are finally here. Sean O'Malley is set to defend his UFC Bantamweight title against Marlon Vera. And Marlon Vera is Sean O'Malley's only loss in MMA. I want to review a little bit of that fight, as well as talk about some of these guys' strengths, some of their weaknesses, and talk about Sean O'Malley as a whole, because there's been a lot of people hating on Sean O'Malley, saying, oh, he will never be a star, he will never be Conor McGregor level. I'm going to get into all of that too. And later on in the week, I'm going to be talking about the whole card. I'm going to talk about Dustin Poirier, Benoit Saint Denis, Michael Venn Page, Kevin Holland. I mean, this card is stacked, you guys already know. But before we get into this, I want to remind you guys to subscribe button, like, comment, and share. We're almost at 12K, guys. You guys just hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. It will help the algorithm as well. You know, share it to other people. Thank you guys for the support on the last video. You know, the reception was insane. It was about Ryan Garcia. Go check it out if you guys missed it already, because that fight looks fun, and there's been so many new updates. I might make it part 2. But before we get into it, I want to ask you guys a question. How many fights did it take Sean O'Malley to hit the Bantamweight Championship since losing to Marlon Vera? Right? He lost to Marlon Vera in August of 2020, and he won the Bantamweight Championship 3 years later, August 2023. Let me know in the comment section below, and I will reveal it by the end of the video. Let's get into it. Alright, as I already said, Sean O'Malley and Marlon Vera did fight in 2020. Now, they were scheduled to fight a little bit beforehand, a while back beforehand, I should say. But Sean O'Malley actually tested positive for steroids. I believe he tested positive for Austrian or something like that. It just goes to show you, no matter the body type, no matter what somebody looks like, they could be on steroids. You can't just judge and say, oh, that guy looks jacked, he's on steroids. There's different types of uses for steroids. It could be cardio, it could be for injuries. There's so many things that you can't just judge a book by its cover. But they did fight, and Marlon Vera did win. Now, this might sound like an unpopular opinion, and I want to preface this by saying I am not a Sean O'Malley fan. It's not that I don't like Sean O'Malley, I just am not like a fan of him. I'm kind of indifferent. I've already told you guys this. Most fighters I'm pretty much indifferent toward. Like, honestly, in this card, there's really like maybe 2 fighters I want to win, if anything. But this might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't think that fight really counts. I think Sean O'Malley clearly got kicked on that nerve. It really affected the fight. We just saw his leg drop, and yeah, Marlon Vera was able to finish. Even that finish, it would not have been normally called off if it was a normal fight. It was because of the injury. It wasn't like a lot of ground and pound landed. I mean, Marlon Vera did land one good elbow, so I think that we can take away a lot from that first fight. But these guys have both fought a lot after. You know, Marlon Vera had on and off parts of his career, while Sean O'Malley had kept winning and won the UFC Bantamweight title. Marlon Vera does not deserve this title shot, but nonetheless, we are in this situation. So let's talk about some of their strengths and weaknesses. And I want to talk about Sean O'Malley. I think Sean O'Malley is one of those guys, you know, we see some superstars, some guys get attention, and we're like, hey, that guy isn't really good. Sean O'Malley is not one of those guys. I mean, I was watching some Sean O'Malley tape, and this guy is one of the best strikers in the Bantamweight division right now. I mean, his footwork, his feints, I mean, his weapons, the way that he could just whip out any weapon, it is just so unexpected, right? I mean, sometimes he'll be spinning, sometimes he'll throw a lead head kick, he'll switch stances. You can't predict what this guy is going to do, and plus, he has some decent power. I don't think he has Deontay Wilder type power where he's going to hit you when you go out cold, but he has proven time and time again where if he hits you enough, and maybe not even that much, he is going to put you down and you're going to get TKO'd. We've heard some rumors about his grappling. We've heard that his grappling could be good. We have not seen that in the UFC, so I can't really comment on it, but there is the potential that he might have some good jiu-jitsu hiding under. I mean, we've seen his defensive ground game to be pretty decent, but here are some weaknesses. We've seen Sean O'Malley get pressured in the past, specifically in that Chris Moutinho fight. That was one of the craziest fights. I mean, I just rewatched that. It was a fun fight to watch, and it's crazy that Chris Moutinho, a guy who stepped in, I believe, on less than a week's notice, was able to push back Sean O'Malley and really have great footwork. I mean, he trapped Sean O'Malley with that side-to-side movement, and he really made Sean O'Malley uncomfortable. I mean, Sean O'Malley, of course, did very well in that fight, but if it's someone that's higher level, if it's someone with the full training camp, like Chito Vera, that could be a problem. Another problem has been low kicks in his career. Now, I want to say I do think he's been doing a lot better. We saw in the Pedro Munoz fight, he was checking a lot of those kicks, but we have seen it a problem in the past where he gets hit with some of those low kicks, especially if there's like a punch behind it or something like that, and Marlon Vera has some good low kicks. We're gonna get into that when I talk about Marlon Vera. He also can be a little inactive at times. There are times where if someone isn't pushing forward, where someone is coming towards him, he could be a bit inactive. If somebody's keeping at his range, like someone like Pedro Munoz, it's rare we see Sean O'Malley go first. He's usually a counter striker, which can cause some lack of activity because you're waiting for the person to go first and they're just not going. Last thing I want to say is his showboating. We've seen time and time again, you know, sometimes he'll get a knockdown, think the fight is over, trying to get that highlight reel, but the fight's not over. Also times where he fights through injuries, right? I mean, we saw in the Relly and Paiva fight, apparently he really hurt his ribs in that fight or got sick or something like that. Leading up to the Aljamain fight, he apparently had a really bad rib injury where he couldn't even grapple, and Sean O'Malley shouldn't have really beaten Aljamain Sterling. I was really shocked to see it happen. I thought it was a bad style matchup for Sean O'Malley, and I thought that Aljamain would win it. With Sean O'Malley going into one of the biggest fights of his career, one of the most dangerous fights of his career, with that big of an injury, I mean, first of all, it deserves a lot of respect, of course, but second of all, I mean, it is just kind of stupid from a fighter's point of view. But Marlon Vera, I mean, as I already said, he has some good leg kicks. We've seen him beat up the legs of some of his opponents. He's also very durable. I mean, it's rare we've seen this guy hurt. I mean, he has a very good chin, good cardio, and his finishing ability is probably his greatest strength. And I'm not just talking about, oh, his power. It's his way that he both sets up shots and his power. I mean, we saw with the Dominic Cruz fight. We saw, you know, he was setting up that head movement, perfectly capitalized on Dominic Cruz's style, and got the knockout with that big head kick. It was a highlight reel knockout. And Chito Vera can make reads. I mean, he's a very smart fighter, underrated fight IQ. I mean, the guy could see a lot of people's weaknesses. That's how he gets these knockouts out of nowhere. A lot of people are like, oh, he's losing a fight and then all of a sudden he gets a finish. No, it's because he's reading these shots. We saw with Rob Font, we saw with Frankie Edgar, we saw with Dominic Cruz, as they just mentioned. But Chito Vera is another guy that can lack activity as well, where we see in the beginning of his fight sometimes he could be a little bit slow, and I think that Sean O'Malley will be a little bit faster in the beginning of the round. Like, I think Sean O'Malley will most likely win the early rounds, and maybe we could see Marlon Vera win later if he's going to win. We've also seen him have to come back from behind on some scorecards, and that's not good for him. He needs to always stay in this fight. He can't let Sean O'Malley, you know, get a lot of momentum, because that could really help O'Malley. Now, later on, I'm going to talk about Sean O'Malley and his whole superstar drama, why everyone is saying, oh, he's not a superstar, and my thoughts on it. But first, let's talk about the method of victory from both guys. I think Sean O'Malley is going to have to mix it up here. I think he's going to have to mix up his attacks, as he usually does. Try to catch Chito by surprise, keep at kicking range. He's going to have to remember to check some low kicks, and even try to land some of his own, because Sean O'Malley has some good kicks. Also, if I'm Sean O'Malley, or if I'm his coach, I would be telling Sean, look, usually when guys have a good chin, they're not going to get knocked out by a big blow, no matter how hard you hit. It's usually the shots you don't see coming, so I would say, look, you got to set up a shot. Try to go into a training camp, you know, setting up a couple of shots, you know, here and there. Try to have like at least 10 shots that you're trying to set up throughout the fight that will sneakily catch Chito. I'll give you guys a perfect example, right? You know, we see Sean Strickland. He's a guy that, you know, hasn't been knocked out by a lot of guys as of recent, only by Alex Pereira. Now, Alex Pereira is a guy that you guys saw in the fight. I mean, he was setting up that left hook, you know, jabbing low, waiting for Sean's guard to go low, and then going up top. And that's how he was able to catch Sean Strickland. So I would be trying to set up some shots, because if you want any chance of finishing Chito, I think that's the best chance you got. And the last thing, don't get too comfortable. I mean, Chito Vera, as I mentioned, he is a finisher. You want to always make Chito think so he's not thinking and trying to set up a shot, because his setups are amazing. Like I said, he's gotten highlight reel knockouts in the past, so you want to be very careful. And for Chito Vera, I think more interestingly, he needs to track down Sean O'Malley. He needs to pressure him. He needs, you know, to really work on his footwork, his pressured footwork. Don't follow O'Malley, because O'Malley's just going to turn back. O'Malley has very good footwork. You need to really trap him, and it's going to be hard to do, because trapping O'Malley's hard. Even Aljamain, a guy who has traditionally trapped a lot of guys in his career, he had trouble trapping Sean O'Malley in their fight. I also think he's going to have to, you know, draw some reactions out of Sean, you know, feint, get Sean thinking, oh, he's coming forward, and let Sean throw and counter. I would say try to counter the counter striker, especially if you're in open space. I mean, you can maybe go first if Sean's back against the cage, but you got to be careful, because Sean is a good counter striker himself. Now, before I talk about who I think is going to win, I want to talk about the question I asked you guys before. How many fights after losing to Marlon Vera did it take Sean O'Malley to hit the Bantamweight Championship? Well, afterwards, he fought Thomas Almeida. Then he fought Chris Montino in the undercard of Poirier versus McGregor. Then he returned against Raleigh and Paiva. Then he had a no contest against Pedro Munoz, fought Petr Yan in Abu Dhabi, and in August of 2023, defeated Aljamain Sterling to become the UFC Bantamweight Champion. So the answer is it took 6 fights for him to become the champion, if you include the fight with Aljamain. Let me know your answer in the comment section below, and how close or far were you. Now, if I were to make a prediction for this fight, I'm going to go with Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley, I think, is very good, underrated in some aspect, and I'm about to get into the whole superstar thing in a second, but I think that Sean O'Malley, I don't know if he's going to be able to finish Chito. Chito is very tough. I think we could potentially see this go to a decision. Sean O'Malley winning most of the rounds. Maybe Marlon Vera wins one. I think we're going to see Sean O'Malley win just based on the shots that he lands. I think Marlon Vera is going to lack inactivity. Maybe he catches Sean O'Malley at one point in the fight, but I just am not confident that Sean O'Malley is going to get knocked out. We saw he has a good chin when Petr Yan really cracked him there. So in my opinion, I got Sean O'Malley by decision. I'm going to say 49-46. Now, there's been a lot of talk this week about Sean O'Malley's superstar ability, and I think a lot of it is going to be answered this week. This is his first title defense, and if he gets a highlight reel knockout over Chito, I do think that he will be on another level of superstardom. If he goes to a decision like I am predicting, I'm not so sure about that. It depends how the fight goes, but if he gets like a first round knockout of Chito, that would be a massive deal. And Sean O'Malley, I think, is definitely one of the more popular fighters right now, if you're going to talk about most popular fighters, but he's not there yet, at least in terms of pay-per-view. He's clearly not selling the pay-per-views. I mean, Aljamain Sterling talked about this and saying that he thought that the pay-per-view would sell more than it actually did with him and O'Malley, and a lot of people pointed out maybe it's because of Sean's trash talk or lack thereof. I think O'Malley's biggest claim to fame, what makes him a superstar, is both his look and his fighting style. His fighting style is super entertaining. We see it like a guy with Alex Pereira, who is similar, who doesn't have a lot of, you know, technically personality. I know as of late he's been posting more trolling stuff and things like that. That's only really helped him, but really made him a bigger star was his fighting style, was the way that he looked, you know, being so stone-faced. O'Malley just looks like different. He's not stone-faced, he's the opposite. The guy looks goofy, but he can fight. fight, and I think that Sean O'Malley does have the potential to be a superstar in the future, but he's not there yet. And I think that this weekend he can really strive for it, and throughout this whole week during fight week, depending on how many viral moments he gets this week. But thank you guys for watching. If you guys missed it, I made a video talking about Brian Ortega versus Ilia Topuria, who I think would win in that matchup, and why I think Ilia Topuria would just destroy him. I also made the video about Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney, talking about the fight coming up, talking about some of the stuff Ryan Garcia has been going through. Go click that as well. Thank you guys for watching. You guys are the best fan base in MMA. Click the link in the description to join my Discord, and I'll see you guys in the next one.